Are you tired of feeling like, oh, I'm just chasing clients, right? It's like, what gives here? In this video, I'm going to tell you how to actually enroll premium clients. And it actually has nothing to do with convincing, with chasing, or with pressuring. So let's dig in, shall we? My name is Jana Nixa. I am the authentic sales coach and the conversion queen, and I work with coaches, consultants, and service based entrepreneurs. I help them create high ticket offers that sell and then go about having them create a sales flow process to sales calls that close with a lot more authenticity and ease. So today we're going to be talking about the chasing, right? That's the absolute last energy you want to be in, especially in high ticket. In life in general, if you really want to think about it, because sales is like dating. We've all been around those needy people who were like texting us all the time or like really clingy or kind of backing us into a corner. And it's the same thing. Like, whether it's a friend or even a family member that's shaming and guilting you or a significant other or boyfriend, like no one wants to feel that. And so the first thing I would say is, what is driving that? Because if fear is driving you in your sales process or on your sales calls, then they're going to pick up on that, because it is not what you say, it's who you are and how you say it. And so, you can look at scripts all day long, but you're not going to be able to connect with your ideal client. And it's because you've got fear running the show. Because if you think about it, whenever we want to force, whenever we want to control, whenever we want to cling, that is fear. Can you guys feel that? And when you're in fear, then of course people are like, you're like all up in their face and they're like, I think I'll wait. So you can say all the right things, but we've all been on those sales calls where you start to pull back and then they start to get in like, but wait, hang on. And so the best way to lead yourself and lead your prospect is to do what I like to call the anti-pressure approach, because no one wants to be forced into anything. And frankly, let's be real, you don't want to force anybody either. It feels uncomfortable all the way around. And so the first thing you have to think about is, what are you afraid of? What are you making them saying no, or them ghosting you, or them not wanting to work with you? What are you making that mean? Because until you drop this sort of like desperate, like we call it used to call it in the sales industry, like commission breath, people, it doesn't matter how good your service is. It doesn't matter how incredible you are. People are not going to work with you because they can sense your fear. And subconsciously or consciously, they think, why is this person in so much fear? Like, what are they hiding? Right? And so that is the very first thing, is you have to release this idea of chasing and forcing. And the number one way to do that is to remember, this isn't about you. This is about them. Because it's kind of like, when you think about people doing healing work and they say, hey, if you start to get like all like up in your head about something, go help someone, go be of service somewhere, right? Because it takes us out of our ego. And so first things first, reel yourself back in by reminding yourself that this isn't about you, it's about them. Because the more you can come to the sales call from a place of neutral curiosity, the more people are going to be open to talking with you, telling you what's really going on. And even like when it comes time for them to give objections per se, they'll give you the real objections, not the smokescreen objections. And so in order to build that rapport, we really have to stay out of, how do I get them to do what I want them to do energy. I call it with my clients like the jackhammer energy, and get in more of that freedom and flow of the seagull energy. And so that's really so key. No one, even children, they don't want to be told what to do and forced and pushed and manipulated. And as soon as they do, they will pull back. Okay. So this kind of goes hand in hand with like trying really hard. Like if I get somebody who's just like messaging me a lot and like all over my feed and like, it's like, why are you trying so hard? Now, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there. There's nothing wrong with marketing yourself. But when it gets into less of like shining your light energy and more of like a pick me energy, trying hard, again, it sends up these signals of like, what's this person's deal? And so, what I'm really asking you to do, especially as your sales coach here, is to really step back in and own your genius and really remember your why. Because if we think about like the needy girl at the bar, like throwing herself at everyone, like no one's taking that seriously. Even if she's a wonderful, lovely human being that would make an incredible mother to somebody's children. Like, no one can get to that place because all they're picking up on is like this, like, pick me, desperate energy. And so, again, like, step back into like, no, I am like incredible at what I do. I get my clients amazing results. People would be lucky to work with me because when you can take your power back, it's magnetic. When you can actually sit on a sales call with somebody and be like, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if this is a good fit because I like to work with people who are X, Y, and Z. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you at the level that you want, right? Like you're being selective. Like I don't work with just anyone. I only want to work with people that I know are going to make the moves, that are going to take my coaching and implement and get results because I'm about getting my clients results. I'm not about like begging them to take action. And so if I'm sensing that, but can you see, like, can you just breathe into how it would feel to not want everybody you get on a call with to say yes because you're not driven by that desperation anymore. You're driven by your intention. You're driven by your mission and your why. And at the end of the day, it's about serving others and helping them. And so much of sales, whether most sales coaches would like to admit it or not, is your energy. It is being in, when we talk about the Hawkins scale, I've done a ton of videos on the Hawkins scale and being in your power and not in force. So go back and just look at some of my earlier videos on sales and I break this all down because when you're in force or manipulation or pushing, like you're all in your egoic energy and you're not in your power. When you're in service and in love and in like trust and when you're in your authenticity, when you're in gratitude, when you're in these higher states of consciousness, you're far more magnetic. So your biggest job in all of this is to notice, am I in my small self, in my little me, or in my more expanded self that's far more grounded, far more present, connected, and truly open to, what life has in store for them. Because if you really think about it, if you think about the things you've been through in life, how much of that, the big stuff that you've had happen, how much of it was like, oh, I made it all go, right? And so when you can open up to there's far more than meets the eye here at work, there's a bigger force. This is a co-creation. I don't have to make it all go. I'm not fully in control, and that's okay. Can you see that there's like freedom available on the other side of that? Freedom from I'm the small me and I make it all go to the I am the I am. I am the presence. I am pure source consciousness. And so when we stay in that place on sales calls, when we're coaching people, when we're just connecting, just you holding that vibration is going to bring so much towards you because other people want to be in that space. So it's all about taking your power back. So what I would do and what I tell my clients to do each, well, first, a couple things. One thing that's really important is to notice. Am I in small me, Jana 1.0, or am I in elevated, expanded me, Jana 4.0 or 10.0? And noticing the texture and the qualities of these different. How different does this person think? How do they move different and act? Like you really want to know because the more familiar you are with when you're in one state or the other, whenever you're in love or in fear, the more you'll be able to notice it and remember that, oh, I snap back into that old version of me. Because almost all of us, like if you're on my page, if you're listening to this stuff, like you know about the quantum, you know about timelines and how we evolve and how we expand. And we're always going to be a little bit in between, right? We're always going to be becoming the next version, but in the process of becoming the next version, we're reconciling and releasing some of the previous version. And so it's always going to be a little bit of this dance until we default. Our new set point is the new version. So your awareness and be able to notice when you have defaulted back to the old version is going to be so key. So what I would do is once you've really started to see the two different versions that you're bouncing between is spending time in the elevated version. Not that the elevated version is somewhere out in the future, but the elevated version is here now and bringing it into the now, breathing it into the now, activating it into the now, upgrading it into the now. How does he or she act, feel, think, move? What types of things is she doing or he doing? Right? How are they going about building their business differently? Like, really, each day, spend as much time as you can, and that will collapse time. Because the more we can bring that version into right now, because it already exists anyway, the more our reality will like start to fill in around us with that new version and reflect it back to us. I've seen so many things move so fast in my life and in my business by doing this. It's all about energy, you guys. Okay. I know we get all muddled up with like the tactics and the strategies, and I'm all about that too. Like I'll fill in the gaps because there are certain things that work, that will help you be more successful, that will collapse time on the strategy side so that you're not spinning your wheels forever. But if you don't have the internal stuff, if you're running on fear, actions taken in a lot of fear, decisions made in a lot of fear will just bring more fear. So that's your simple practice every day. Truly be in the version of you that already has what you want, that it already has become the person that gets the results. Because bottom line, you think the gift is the successful business and the freedom and all of that. And that's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. However, the real gift is the person you get to become in the process. Like resilient and confident and authentic and knows who they are, right? Powerful. Imagine becoming that. What could be better than fully realizing the version of you were meant to be here? You were meant to be here. You were meant to be here, right? And so that is your magic bullet. And noticing when you're not in it and why. What is the story that's keeping you tied to the old timeline? And What's interesting, the more we step into our power in that way and really own it, it isn't about bragging. It's about owning. They're very different. People who are bragging are trying to prove something. People are owning are just like, this is who I am. And so it isn't about, how much money or how many clients or all of that, but just by being who you became here to be and owning it and being selective about who you work with, right? Being selective about what you're willing to tolerate, being selective about where you're going to spend your time and energy. People respond to that. And so it doesn't have to be about bragging or boasting. It's not about that. It's just people will naturally know. We've all been in the presence of people who have fully stepped into their power. And you don't even have to, they don't have to say anything. You're just like, whoa, you can feel it. And so, why, yes, you're allowed to talk about your results. I'm allowed to talk about 100K launches, right? I'm allowed to talk about how much I've grown my business. I'm allowed because it helps you all see that what I'm talking about works. But it doesn't come from a place of like, nah, 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 nah. It comes from a place of like, this is available to you too. Not saying this to impress you. I'm saying this to press upon you that this is available for you too. So if you so choose to step in. And so I'll leave you with that. The choice is yours. And I hope that you will say yes to all that you are because that is your superpower. And when you then have a sales process to back that up, everything falls into place. So, with that, definitely check out the links below. We have a challenge coming up where we're going to walk you through this process in detail. Okay. All the information is down below. And I would love, love, love to have you there so that I can really show you. I'm about the woo and the do. So in this case, we talked a lot about the woo, but now how do we take that power and really apply it to these business principles and like put it into action in our business in a way that just creates so much momentum and so much success. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for being here today, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.